Thursday of last week with a lot of rumors about the supposed RVO that the EPA would be releasing. And then we did see that on Friday, and it came out substantially higher than most people had estimated.
Yeah, quite drastically. Like,
it's 1-2 punch. So in a good way. So it's one, it's a substantially larger RVO saying that, okay, US petroleum fuel producer suppliers, you have to blend a substantially larger amount of biomass-based diesels into petroleum supplies in 2026 and 2027. Now, the kicker is, and I would call it the icing on the cake. I think a lot of people were looking at this and saying, wait a second here, this is a negative, but no. This is a huge positive in the grand scheme. If you were looking at this from a soybean oil or let's say a canola oil perspective, the EPA said that we're going to take whatever the RIN value is for this gallon of biomass-based diesel that you're producing, and we're going to cut it in half. If you're producing the fuel, if it's either an imported fuel, or which normally would qualify for a RIN, or if it is a domestically produced fuel, but it's produced from an imported feedstock. So that really changes the game because it means that we have a much larger percentage of fuel production in the US that's only going to be generating half of the RIN value that it would have previously.
What's a RIN? Let's do a quick little definition.
Go deep. So a RIN is what is generated when you produce a 1 gallon of ethanol biofuel equivalent here in the US. And so this is the way that the EPA is able to regulate and track compliance with the renewable fuel standard.
Okay. And these are traded, right? Like this is a market that is traded.
They're also traded. And so I kind of refer to a RIN as the cost of compliance. And so the higher the RIN value is, the more that it costs to comply. So when you are a petroleum company here in the US, you have two options when it comes to the renewable fuel standard. So either you can blend X amount of biofuels into the petroleum fuel supply each year as mandated by EPA per the renewable fuel standard, or you can purchase RINs to offset, you can purchase RINs in the same amount that you would have had to blend physical gallons. So you can either pay to play or you can actually blend.
Actually do it. What have RIN values done since this announcement?
Huge rally. So
huge rally.
We saw RIN values. We saw RIN values up substantially Friday and then into Monday because of this. And it's also a lot of it too, I think at this point is kind of uncertainty because it's the unknown of exactly how does this all play out. The biggest issue with biofuels in general and anything that's kind of related to the renewable fuel standard, it's that you have, I would say 90% of the population doesn't have like a very firm grasp on exactly what these things mean because they're inherently complicated. And so you have a very emotional market. You have waves of buying and selling that are either based on a headline, like a rumor, or something like, okay, well, they released the RVO. And then I started to see messages later on in the afternoon where people were saying, wait a second, if they are reducing the RINs for this, then it means that domestic will do this. And it's a net negative. And that's not the case at all. But when you have a few of the big brokers that are kind of echoing that same sentiment, or they have the same hot take that's maybe not necessarily right, it creates these waves of confusion. And ultimately, this is why we see these really big swings up and down in soybean oil. It's also that soybean oil is the most impacted just because due to the nested nature of RINs in the renewable fuel standard, it and that just means that soybean oil and D4 biomass-based diesel RINs are kind of most susceptible to these swings or changes as far as regulation goes.
So this report that came out on Friday, like this thing apparently is like 100 pages or longer, right? This is a whopper of a report.
I think it's more like 300.
Okay. There's a few pages to skim through.
I'm getting that confused with the Senate, the House and the Senate big beautiful budget reconciliation bill.
Big beautiful bill. That's in my notes here as well to ask you about after. So yep.
It's big. I don't know that it's beautiful, but it's big.
So, I was looking at some of the kind of the numbers that were pulled out. And so I was looking at like canola oil. I think it said maybe canola oil import or something like that. And there was some increases in those numbers for the next couple of years. But, your opinion, your account, like, is it a game changer for a canola, farmer in Western Canada? I don't know how you'd want to answer that, but I thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm not certain that I have the best answer for you. So for one thing, I think that it means we will begin taking much more U.S. soybean oil and allocating it to biofuel use. And then that's going to leave a gaping hole in food demand. And I think that that's something that will likely be filled with canola oil.
Okay. Yeah, I read like food and industrial, and I don't know how big industrial is, but I think food would be the big one there.
I think that that's somewhat of a flatline thing. I mean, it's more, I think that it boils down to the kind of interchangeability and price relationships between soy oil, canola, and then also palm. We import a decent amount of palm in the US for food applications. But when we look at the bigger picture, as far as an imported feedstock like canola oil, where we're using a lot of it to produce biofuels now, or in the past few years we have, it's a game changer when you look at it from a RIN perspective. So just taking, for instance, RINs going home on Friday, I think we were in that I think I wrote it down, 130 or something per gallon range. So if you're making renewable diesel out of, for instance, like some sort of domestic oil, you're going to be getting $2.20 or something per gallon as the value of that RIN, or per physical gallon. But if you're making it out of any sort of imported feedstock, which would include canola oil, you're only getting half of that. So you're looking at like $1 a gallon. So that makes a huge difference. The other piece of that is right now, as we're looking at these changes or these proposed changes to 45Z, and right now they're sitting in the Senate. And so we received notification late yesterday that there were some pretty substantial changes to those credits as well. So to kind of back up, we had a major change first of the year. So in the US, we went from a $1 blending tax credit for biomass-based diesel. So it didn't matter what the fuel was produced from, as long as you were blending a biodiesel or renewable diesel into petroleum supplies, you would receive $1 per gallon across the board, no matter the feedstock. So January 1 came around and 45Z went into effect. So for one, it's a production credit. So it's not blending, so it's a matter of who is producing the fuel. Two, it excludes imported fuels entirely, which for the US, that cuts out 16 or 17% of our annual biomass-based diesel supplies were generally imported. So no more credit